Stop charging people for dietary requirements. Wasn't fit to eat. Literally tasted like chemicals. Mum had to send her scone back. I want to be able to drink the tea that you are providing me. The idea of them being able to do the magic was taken away, because that's not fair. That is just so wrong. Be to a high standard or not. Like, that's not on them, that's on you, that's on the owner. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. As you'll tell by the title, I'm going to be talking some tea today. Quite literally. That title, which at the moment I've got it down as the worst wizarding afternoon tea in London. That is not a clickbait title. We are going to be going into depth and talking about the reason why this afternoon tea was the absolute worst one I've ever been to. For that, I want to go into some disclaimers. So the first thing is that I actually have made a PowerPoint, because I have so many things to talk about that I've made a PowerPoint. So I will be looking down every now and again. This is just literally so I don't forget everything. But the first thing that I will obviously want to say is that this is not a normal video. You know that I make lots of different videos, lots of different types of videos, but very rarely do I make videos like this where I sit down and I talk about something in a negative light. I've very rarely done it. I've done it with a company that no longer is around anymore, that did subscription boxes, how I wasn't happy with that. I can't really remember anything else I've ever done that's been particularly negative, or not an entire video. I do try and find the positives in everything, however, the negatives outweigh the positives on this one, and I just don't want people being ripped off, which is the main reason why I'm making this video. Another disclaimer is that this was a birthday present to my mum from her work colleagues. Now, obviously, they didn't know that what I'm about to share with you was going to happen. They spent £84 on this afternoon tea. Now, that is a really important point that I'm making, and I just want you to, as you listen to the video and see clips from the experience, I just want you to make a decision as to whether you think that this was actually worth £84 or not. I think you'll know my answer by the title of the video, and definitely by the end of it. So we've spoken to them, we've told them not to feel bad. Obviously, they didn't know. It's not their fault. But we were so excited for this experience, and this experience just didn't go where we expected it to. So that's all my disclaimers. Let's get into the actual video. Let's talk about the details of this afternoon tea. So it was in the place called Wand and Wizard Exploratorium. I think that's how you say it. It's located on Greek Street, which is just around the corner from the House of Spells and from the Cursed Child Theatre. It's a very short walk from Leicester Square and from Tottenham Court Road, about 5 minutes from each one. So the cost of it on their website, it says that it's from £42 per adult, £32 per child, and £33.60 for a student. So as you can see already, that's quite a lot of money for an afternoon tea. It's supposed to be a 1 hour and 45-minute experience. I will get into our experience in a second. If you are vegan, gluten-free or vegetarian, you have to pay £3 on top of the price that you paid to get in. So for example, if you're an adult and let's say it's £42 for that day, you'll have to pay £42 plus the £3 if you are one of those three things on top of the prices. So instead of it being £42, it's going to be £45. You will also find out my opinion on that in the video to come. And when you book, you cannot book just one person, you have to book a minimum of 2 people. Okay, so the experience is advertised as, and I'm just going to read it directly from the website: Wizard Afternoon Tea at the Wand and Wizard Exploratorium is an interactive tea brewing experience where you step into the magical worlds of your childhood through the subtle science of tea brewing, molecular gastronomy, and technology. It is also, which it doesn't state here, but it is also an afternoon tea, so you get a selection of sandwiches and cakes and things from the afternoon as the afternoon tea side. So it's not just tea brewing, you are supposed to get food as well. Bearing in mind the price for an adult is minimum of £42 a person. So we wore our robes to get into the spirit of it. We were really, really excited. This is the pictures of us outside beforehand. And from the outside, it looks like such a beautiful building. Now, some of you may recognise this building. This is the old home of Mina Lima, and I loved this building when it was Mina Lima. It was such a wonderful building. Mina Lima done it so beautifully, and every floor was just stunning. It's not quite that way anymore. as I said, we're gonna, the reason I keep saying I'm gonna get onto it is because I've actually written this out in an order to talk to you about it, so I will get back to these points. We were so excited, and I even did a point of view walking from Leicester Square Station to the afternoon tea shop. So I literally did it all the way from Leicester Square. We walked past, went into the House of Spells, and then we went to the Wizard's Emporium. When we got back there, we were about 10 minutes early, so we decided to go in and let them know we were there. There were also quite a fair few amount of families there, and a couple of like groups of friends and things like that. There was a family there who were also dressed up in their robes, and other people who were just dressed up in like magical looking muggle clothing. However, when we went in there, we were sort of disappointed because although the shop, when you go in, actually looks quite nice, like the downstairs bit, they've got a bit called Flick and Sweet, which was really lovely, and it had like a little sweet, like a pick and mix section, and then there was like a couple of like interactive bits on the wall. None of the people were actually dressed up and looked magical. They were just in regular clothes, and not to be rude, but they looked a little bit scruffy. Like if I was to walk into my job looking the way they did, I'd have been told to go home and get myself looking presentable. And it was just, it kind of just took that little bit of magic away. But I thought, you know, maybe, you know, hopefully it'll be a nice magical experience once you get up there. We waited around 10 minutes before we were taken upstairs, and we were told to hold on to the handrails because if we didn't, then we would get cursed by a pixie, or the pixies would come and they would be very naughty. But it wasn't done in an enthusiastic way. It was kind of just like, they sort of said it like this. They were like, make sure you hold on to the handrail, because if not, the pixies are going to come. And it was kind of like that. There was no like magic about it. We thought maybe this was like a theme of something that was, you know, that we might see pixies as we got up the stairs, but no, we didn't. As you walked up, the stairs didn't have that magical feel that they had when it was me and Alima. They were just tight and dark and cramped. You could hardly see anything as you went up them, and they were hot and sticky and just not very nice. We were led into this little tiny dark hot room which had about 6 tables in it, and I'll hopefully put a little video in the top here. There was 3 families with children, and then 3 lots of 2 adults. Mum and I were asked to go up onto there was like this ledge, like when you're in school and there's like a little like ledge and it's like a stage. But there was like this little ledge bit, and it had a seating for 2 here and a seating for 2 here. And we were asked to sit up there, so we went and sat up there. The chairs were extremely uncomfortable. In fact, they weren't even chairs, they were stools. They didn't have any backs in them like these sort of chairs. So we were sat on this little stool, sort of leaning over a table in this very cramped little space. And it was just not comfortable at all. By the end of it, my back was absolutely killing me, and I was so glad just to be able to get up and walk around and be able to move it. Another thing we noticed when we went in was that there was this extremely loud music. Now obviously it wasn't Harry Potter music, they couldn't for copyright reasons do any form of Harry Potter music, but the music was so loud that throughout the experience we couldn't actually hear anything that was going on. And any of the instructions that were given throughout the afternoon tea were just drowned out by the music, because they were talking so monotone and so quietly. Like they were just sort of talking like this and really quietly, but the music was really loud and you couldn't hear it. And honestly, after around 10 minutes of being in that room, I just wanted to leave. Obviously we didn't leave, we decided to stay because we were just hoping it was going to get better. But by around the 10-minute mark, I was like, nah, I'm done. All of the staff were very monotone, they were unenthusiastic, and they honestly just acted like they wanted to be anywhere else but where they were. As a teacher, this is the sort of job I would love to have. Could you imagine the amount of magic you could make? I would bring my teacher enthusiasm that I use when I'm in the classroom, and I would do it then, especially if you've got young children that are also there. Like, where's the fun and the mischief and the excitement? You need to get people excited, but no, there was no excitement. It was kind of like, we're here to do our job and that's it. There was just nothing exciting about it or special or that made you even want to be there. And anything that went wrong, there was no, oh, we're so sorry, blah, blah, blah. It was that blamed on the pixies. Everything that went wrong was blamed on the pixies. Boxes not working were blamed on the pixies. Parts of the experience that didn't work or things that weren't right was blamed on the pixies. And I'm sorry, I understand if you want to use pixies as a point of being able to use it for like curses and things like that and them doing silly things, but don't make it the reason why things that shouldn't be going wrong or things that should be to a high standard are not. Like, that's not on them, that's on you. That's on the owners and on the people that work there. Mainly on the owners, but also on the people that work there. Don't just blame it on Pixies. Actually have some sympathy and some empathy for the people that are there. Because if something's gone wrong, especially if it's a child, so many things happen to children, that's not very magical. That's completely taken it out of them and makes them feel like absolute rubbish. So yeah, stop blaming everything on the Pixies. The room itself did actually have some magical elements to it. It was like, you know, magical lighting. There was like this, I don't even know what you describe it as. It was kind of like a tree that they put your food on, which was really cute. I did like it. However, it had more of an Alice in Wonderland theme to it for me. Like the wall that we were sitting next to, on it had like vines and leaves painted on it, but it also had red and white flowers or roses, and it just made me think more of Alice in Wonderland rather than Harry Potter or wizard or witches and things like that, because obviously it's not going to be Harry Potter related exactly, even though it's kind of advertised as a bit Harry Pottery, but obviously they can't say the Harry Potter because of copyright. But yeah, they could have made it a little bit more wizardy and less Alice in Wonderlandy. I don't know if it was meant to be like that, but it just sort of took away the it just took away the magical feel of it, of being like a potionsy magical tea experience. After about 5-10 minutes, we made our first magical tea. This little like trunk chest on the table, which you had one wand. Bear in mind, you had one wand per table, and some of these tables had like 3 or 4 children. So it was kind of a shame that there wasn't more than one, so that all the children could have a go, because once the magic had been done, yeah, you could reset it, but then it wasn't as special for those children because they'd already seen it done once, so the idea of them being able to do the magic was taken away. And I'll come back onto what the magic was in a little while, but we were given these answers and told to press these symbols in a specific order on the trunk. So as you pressed each one, it lit up and it popped the box open, which was pretty cool. I can't say it wasn't cool. It was pretty cool to see it being done. But the fact that, you know, there was only one wand, so only one person could do it, was sort of a disappointment, especially on tables that, you know, had 5 or 6 people. And also, most of our chest was empty. It had a very little amount of breakfast tea, and most of the special things that you could add into your teas were gone. Like, they were hardly filled up. Like, I had rosebuds in one of my tea, and there was literally like 1 rosebud in it, so it kind of took away that magic, because where you had these little jars that looked like they should have been potion ingredients for your tea, it just kind of took it away. You could see the ones that don't get used very often because they were still full, but honestly I think they should have refilled them, even if it wasn't all the way, but they should have had at least halfway in each, because Mum and I both had a bit of breakfast tea, but there wasn't actually enough to make a breakfast tea with. It wasn't a proper potent breakfast tea, which is one of the reasons I ended up putting rosebuds into my tea, because my mum doesn't like any other kind of tea. She knows that she doesn't. She tries different teas and she doesn't like them. She didn't like my tea, so I put rosebuds in mine. I actually really like the rosebud tea. It really intrigued me. That was something that I quite liked, but other things in there I wouldn't have liked. So to make the teas, you had to take the ingredients and put them into like a little tea bag, and then you did the tea bag up and put them into your cup, and then put like boiling water on it, although it was more hot water rather than boiling. Mum, as I said, she did try a little bit of my tea, as I said, but she decided to stick with breakfast tea just because there was no option to have something different. So if you didn't like it, you were stuck with it. You just kind of had it in your cup. There was no option to get a new cup, no option to tip it away, nothing. So she decided to stick with breakfast tea, and she decided to ask for milk because, you know, having breakfast tea, you wanted some milk. Mum carries around her own pot of sweeteners, but obviously she didn't have any milk. So she asked for milk, and in response Mum was told that she didn't need any milk with any of these teas because they're herbal teas, to which Mum replied, well, I'm not a fan of herbal teas, so I'm just going to stick to my English breakfast tea, and I would like some milk, please. And they basically said she didn't need it, and she was like, well, I need milk because I'm having breakfast tea and that's all I'm having. So they said, you know, it's going to be a 5 to 10 minute wait. It wasn't, in fact, a 5 to 10 minute wait. After 20 minutes, we had to ask again. But I'm going to come back to that because it's going to link into the food when I get onto it in a second. Unfortunately, there are no alternative drinks. So if you or your children don't like your drinks, there are no alternative drinks. I did overhear somebody asking for water, and I think they had to ask for it a couple of times before they ended up getting some water. But I don't know if they were asking for like tap water or if they're asking for boiled water, because you could ask for more boiled water, although everything did seem to take a long time. So if you were to take children and your children didn't like it, there was no option of squash. And if you're an adult, there was no option of like Diet Coke or lemonade or water or regular tea or coffee. There was no option of anything else but these teas, which I do understand that it's a tea making experience. However, people have different requirements, and especially children. Like, children are not gonna like speciality tea all the time, and I don't think most children will like speciality tea because it's an acquired taste and their taste buds are not necessarily ready for it when they're young. Let's talk about food. The food was the biggest disappointment out of all of it. This is advertised as a magical tea making session afternoon tea, and you are meant to get food in your tea. Now, I'd like to remind you of the price. For my mum and I, this cost £84. This is how much my mum's friends paid for it. It was £84 for mum and I to go to this afternoon tea. This afternoon tea is the smallest afternoon tea we have ever had. Okay, we each had 2 finger sandwiches. They weren't even to the size of half a sandwich, to half a piece of bread. We had one which was ham and something, I think it was ham and cheese, and one which was like cream cheese and lettuce, or cream cheese and something. They were so tiny that I'm gonna be honest with you, when I first saw them, I was like, is that all the sandwiches we're getting? A mini quiche, which was savoury, and I mean mini, like literally minuscule, really small. It was a mushroom quiche from what I remember. We got 2 miniature cakes and a dessert and a small scone. And when I say small scone, you know those little fairy cakes that you can get from Tesco's? Like they're like, I think they're literally just called fairy cakes, and they're absolutely tiny for little children. That's the size of it, and you got one of those. And we got one packet, and we got one small pot of cream between 2 adults. I mean, admittedly, the scones were tiny, but you know, if you wanted a decent amount of cream on your scone, then you would have needed at least another pot. Mum had to send her scone back because it was rock hard when she cut into it, and it was dry and it just wasn't fit to eat. They did ask if I wanted to send mine back, but by that point I'd already started eating it. It wasn't great, it didn't taste great, it was hard and dry, but I'd already started eating it, and I just thought, honestly, at this point, I'm just gonna eat it because I was so done. By this point I was so done with it, and I was just staying because I was like hoping it would get better, but also I didn't want to waste the money my mum's friends had spent on us going there. So because it was so rock hard, mum did ask for it to be replaced. This took a long time. Whilst we were waiting for it to be replaced, she was still waiting for her milk. So throughout all this time, mum is still waiting for the milk for her tea. We'd already tried a bit of our sandwiches and we'd had a little bit of the cakes, but mum was still waiting for her milk. So the scone was then brought back over, I think like 5-10 minutes later, and then the milk was brought over. So in total it took way over 20-25 minutes for mum to get a little bit of milk. And honestly, I just don't think that's good enough. Mum liked the desserts. I didn't like the desserts, I have to admit. I didn't like them so much. Some of them were nice, like there was this little pot of like a moussey type thing. It basically tasted like a melted Solero with a raspberry on the top, and that was really nice. But it was so much sugar and very little savoury, and for somebody who, although I enjoy sugar, I need to have savoury, otherwise it makes me feel extremely sick and I don't like it. Just having that tiny bit of savoury and then being given this sugar, it just wasn't tasteful. It just didn't taste right. I just felt like there wasn't enough food, and there wasn't enough to, like the cakes, yeah, the cake sizes were probably fine. The little macaroon, I have to admit, I did enjoy, especially that you could put the little raspberry bit in it. That was quite nice. But there just wasn't enough of it. There wasn't enough sandwiches. Like my mum was saying, you need to have at least one whole sandwich cut into finger slices, maybe even a little bit more, to even be able to justify the astronomical price that they charge for this. By this point, I was honestly just looking forward to leaving. I was just looking forward to it being over. There was no excitement, no enthusiasm from any of the staff. It was easy to tell by looking around us that several people were also not happy with what was going on. And obviously I don't know this for definite, but it genuinely looked like the parents that were with children, it just looked like they were just like, you know, trying to smile through it and get through it for the sake of their children, because they'd obviously paid a lot of money for, and a family of 4 to go to this is almost £200. And the children get an even smaller portion than the adults. Like the adult portion was probably more like a child's portion. So yeah, it just looked like that they were just trying to get through it for their children. Okay, and then we go on to the second tea making. As if this experience couldn't get any worse, it did. 3 little jars with things in them, and we were told to put them straight into the little tea bag. So we put them in there, and then we were told to put them into this glass teapot, and then put the boiling water or the hot water into the glass teapot and fill it up pretty much as you could, and then put the lid on it. So we did that. And then we put it onto the, I'm going to call it a mushroom stand because, no, I'm going to call it a tree stand because I don't really know what they called it. So we put it onto the tree stand, and we had to use the wand to press where it was, I think it was like a little teapot symbol, which made it light up, which is where the magic would happen. The magic being it's a blue light. That's what the magic is. Don't get me wrong, it looked pretty cool. But that was what the magic was. So we had to leave that there. Then we were given the task of finding these 3 little tubes. They were like little glass tubes with different coloured liquids in them, which I believe, and I've got it written down, one was meant to be Dracula's blood, one was nectar, and one was fairy tears. Do not get me wrong, they all smelled delicious. One of them smelled very like orangey, one of them smelled very floral, and I can't remember what the other one smelled like. And we were told that we were going to be putting these into our tea to be able to make them more magical. So this sounded quite intriguing. I actually thought it was going to come out quite nice, considering the 3 liquids smelled quite nice and the tea that we'd put in smelled alright as well. So I was like, this will be alright. So there were 3 glass jars which were placed onto the tree stand, and in each one we had to tip some of the water into the water from the glass teapot into each of them, and the different colours that were in the vials and the water from the teapot. And then again we had to use the one to press on the symbol of the 3 containers, and it lit them up. Now what was supposed to be really magical was they were meant to turn red, orange and green. I'm pretty sure it was red, orange and green. But they didn't. Every single table's turned a completely different colour, so I don't quite know why they turned different colours if we all had the same thing. Told that we could try them and test them. Now for Mum and I, this wasn't particularly an issue because obviously we're mother and daughter, so we don't really mind about sharing glasses. But if you're going with your friends or you don't necessarily want to share glasses with, it becomes an issue because you've only been given the 3 glasses and you can't put it back in your teacup because you've probably still got tea in it because you didn't get a lot of time to drink your tea. So you had to taste them from those 3 glasses. There was no alternative glasses. If you've been to Walt Disney World and you've tried the Beverly, that is the experience of these drinks. They were unfit to drink. They were undrinkable. You could not drink them. We were asked to give honest feedback and they picked on me, probably because they could see I was like, no, this is absolutely disgusting. So I gave them my opinion because they were like, no, tell us, what do you think? And I honestly turned around and said, honestly, it's disgusting. I would never drink them again. I did not enjoy them. They made me feel sick, me feel like really blur. And they literally went and they were blur. I didn't like them. And then as soon as I'd said that, other people joined in and went, yeah, no, I didn't like them either. And they didn't seem favoured by it. And they were like, oh, who didn't hold the handrail on the way up? And Mum was like, I didn't hold. And they were like, well, that's why, because you've been cursed by the pixies and that's why they don't taste nice. You're at a tea making afternoon experience, right? You have paid £42 plus per person for adults, £84 for me and Mum. I want to be able to drink the tea that you are providing me. All right, I might not like everything, but at least it needs to be drinkable. It can't be one of those things where you taste it and you're like, whoa. I can't. It literally tasted like chemicals. Like, it tasted like something you should not have been putting in your mouth. So no, I don't take that excuse. I don't take the excuse of the pixies because you didn't seem to care that people didn't like them. And you were just like, oh, it's a curse. Let's get the curse off of you. But in a very monotone way. So no, I just didn't enjoy that. And I'm probably being so negative, and this isn't me. I'm not normally this negative, but for the price, no. After we got rid of the curse by stating stuff we loved, then told it's over and it was time to leave. And I cannot tell you how relieved I am to hear those words. Like, I was so ready to leave because they were just so boring. Just before we left, they asked for tips and for feedback. So when I say tips, I mean monetary tips. They asked you to leave money tips if you'd enjoyed it, and feedback. And I don't think anybody gave tips as far as I was aware. I didn't see anybody giving tips. We were some of the last to leave, if not the last people to leave. So I didn't see anybody giving tips, and from what I could tell by people coming out, just based on facial expressions, nobody else was impressed and everybody seems extremely disappointed. So Mum and I then left very disappointed and very, very hungry. We literally came out of there so hungry that we actually ended up going to some different Harry Potter shops, and then we ended up at the Hard Rock Cafe. If you want a good place to eat, Hard Rock Cafe is amazing. I'm going to do a full review of the Hard Rock Cafe at some point. Beautiful. So yeah, you shouldn't be going somewhere where you're paying £42 a person and then having to go and eat somewhere probably just expensive. I know we could have gone to McDonald's or somewhere, but we were like, do you know what, we've had a really not great time in there, let's go and have a nice meal, and then go and spend more money at a restaurant. Luckily the portion sizes was perfect, everybody in there was so nice. They probably have to sing happy birthday like 100 times a day, and we must have heard it 5 or 6 times, and every time they were just as enthusiastic as the last, if not more enthusiastic. So yeah, but so that was that experience. Out of 5 stars I would give it 1. I mean, I'd probably give it 0, but it just wasn't good. I would never go back there, and I would never suggest that you go there because it is such a waste of money. I would much rather pay the £5 extra and go and try the Warner Brothers tour one. I've not done that yet, but I've heard really good things about it. I'm going to give them 10 suggestions of things that they could do to improve it, because I actually think if you did a few of these or all 10 of these, it would actually be a fantastic experience. I think that it had so much potential but lacked with the execution. Are in no particular order, but the first one is be enthusiastic. Please staff, be enthusiastic. Please show that you enjoy your job. All right, I know not every day is going to be the best. I have days where I just don't enjoy what I do. I have days where I love what I do. I have days in between. However, when you are entertaining a group of people, or you are in front of a group of people and you are the main person in that room leading that experience, you at least need to act like you want to be there. Do not get me wrong, I have days as a teacher where I walk into the classroom and I really don't want to be there. I really just want to go home. I'm tired, I don't feel well, something's gone wrong. You know, there's a multitude of reasons. That every time of those little ones, I will put on this big smile and this enthusiastic energy and try to be the best I can for them, because they don't deserve to be on the receiving end of my bad mood. And it's the same for this afternoon tea. All right, you might not be having a great day, and I can fully understand that, but when you are doing a job where you are basically in the eye of the public and you are entertaining people and you are running something, you need to be as enthusiastic as you can. You need to fake it till you make it, because no matter what, your attitude determines the experience of other people. My attitude in the classroom determines the behaviour of my class. My attitude in the classroom determines how they learn, and every single person who walked into that afternoon tea spent an extortionate amount of money and they got nothing from it. They should be, especially when you're paying that kind of money, you should be getting high quality service. Even if those people have to fake it, even if they have to just put on a fake smile for that hour and 45 minutes. That's another thing I didn't mention. We didn't get an hour and 45 minutes, we got an hour. We had exactly an hour. Enthusiastic, have fun, enjoy it. Every group of people is going to be different. You'll have people in there that really want to get involved, especially the kids. Make it fun for the kids. That's why, like, parents are bringing their children so they can pretend that they are, you know, witches and wizards. Make it fun for them. Number 2, wear a magical uniform. Give your staff a uniform. Downstairs, it was so lovely that you had this flick and mix, a play on pick and mix. Have a uniform. It doesn't have to be anything extravagant. It could literally be, so for example, like this is a Wizarding trunk t-shirt that says like the Herbology Club, and then on the back it says the Herbology Club. Give them something that has your shop name on it, and on the back says like magical afternoon tea. Give them something that they can wear that A, makes you all look a bit cohesive, but also makes you look like professional and makes you look like, you know, you are a part of this magical world. You don't have to be dressed up in robes. You don't have to be dressed up as a potion master. You could literally be dressed up in a magical shop t-shirt, but make it so that there's something magical about it. Something that stands you out from the crowd of a regular afternoon tea. 3, provide more savoury food and bigger portions. I don't want to eat just sugar. And I know that there are probably a lot of people that agree with me out there. Make the sandwiches, make the scones a bigger size, a better portion. You are charging £42 per adult. Give them their money's worth of food. There was probably £10 worth of food between me and mum at absolute maximum, and that's out of £84. The tea probably didn't cost a lot either, so make it worth it. Make it so people aren't going out hungry and having to spend more money elsewhere. Make it that people are like, oh, this was such a good value for money, I want to come back with my friends, I want to come back with my husband, I want to come back with so and so. Make it worth it, and make people leave there with a full belly so they're not going and spending it on other places. Make it so they want to spend money down in your shop, on your pin badges, on your t-shirts, on the magical items that you have down there. Give people a reason to spend money at your place and not somewhere else. Number 4, stop charging people for dietary requirements. It's not their fault if they're gluten-free, right? If someone chooses to be vegan or someone chooses to be vegetarian, I understand that's their choice. But what you are doing is actually not worth the money you're charging. Or having an allergy is not something people choose, so stop charging them for it, because that's not fair. That is just so wrong, and it really offended me when mum told me that people are being charged extra because they're gluten-free. No, it's wrong. And have alternative drinks for people, squash for children, fizzy drinks, hot chocolate, things like that. All right, hot chocolate might be a little bit more or something you could charge for. You could charge like an extra £1 or £1.50 for somebody to upgrade their drink to a hot chocolate. But have something for children and other adults who don't like your magical teas. Or speaking on the teas, refill all of the teas and all of the things that you have out. 2 of the little jars with the pipettes. Have the things out that you need for your teas. Don't just have it so that 1 table has everything they need and then 3 tables don't have everything they need, because that's not fair. That's really unfair, and you're all paying the same amount of money, so you should all have the same things. And 2, make the experience fun. Add in silly little magic tricks. Involve the kids. Be enthusiastic. Be like, oh no, the pixies are at it again. Who can stop them? Somebody who can help me? I need somebody who's got their wand. Who can come and help me cast a magic spell and we can get all the pixies to go away? Be exciting. Enjoy it. You are doing something that so many people would love to do. I'd love to do a job where I was running a magical afternoon tea. That would be an amazing job, but I would do it to such a high standard compared to what they're doing. I understand that maybe the people who run the tea, who did the actual like interactive bit, maybe they don't have control over the kitchen and they don't have control over a lot of things. But you could make the experience worthwhile. I can't remember what number I'm on because I've kind of just gone for them, but make the music quieter. Don't have this music that is so loud that it takes away from the atmosphere. Yes, atmospheric music really does help, but it needs to be at a level where you can just about hear it, but you can actually hear what's going on, because we missed many instructions and got things wrong because we had no idea what we were doing. Like, we didn't know we were meant to tap the mushroom to make the tree light up. They just said tap the tree tray. That's what we heard. We didn't hear the mushroom aspect of it, so we were standing there for ages, like rubbing our hands, trying to tap it. It wasn't working, and it made me feel embarrassed because I felt very silly because I had got it wrong because I hadn't heard it, and they seemed very much like, oh, I can't believe you didn't get it, you're 2 adults kind of thing. If I felt very judged. Pricing. If you are going to keep your experience the way it is, reduce your pricing, because I would definitely be gutted if I had spent, and I'm gutted for the people who spent the money out for me and mum, but I would be gutted if I was a parent who had spent the money. Think about it. We're in a cost of living crisis, right? We're in a cost of living crisis. There are probably going to be parents, people, groups of adults, groups of magical people who save up and they're like, oh, I really want to do this. So they save up their money to do this. It's crammed with people, with chairs that aren't good, with food that is not very, you don't get a lot of food, tea that tastes vile, and you spent all this money. I would be so disappointed and upset and leaving the worst review. And obviously that's why I'm doing this video, to stop you guys getting scammed. So you need to either put these things in place or reduce your price. I mean, really, you need to do both. You need to put these things in place and reduce your price, because what you're offering is not good enough. Make it worthwhile, make it exciting. And that is all I've got on this ranty video. I don't know how long this video has gone on for, but I need a drink. I don't normally do videos like these, but I don't want you guys being scammed. I don't want you guys spending out your money. What do you think? Have you spent your money there? Or did you think it was worth the money? Did you have the same experience as us or different? Let us know down below. If you enjoyed this video, then please give it a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button and turn the notification bell on so you're notified every single time I upload. I will be making more positive videos. There are so many more exciting things to come. Back to Hogwarts is coming up. So make sure that you are subscribed for that. If you want to see any more of my videos, please click here. I hope you're having the most magical day and I'll see you soon. Bye!